B-2 bombers on the move. Uh-oh.
Breaking moments ago, new reports from open source plane spotters show 6 B-2 stealth bombers from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri appearing to head toward a U.S. Air Force base in Guam. The B-2 can carry two 15-ton bunker buster bombs that could be used to target Iran's heavily fortified Fordo nuclear site.
Yeah.
This is a second U.S. aircraft carrier will arrive in the Middle East this weekend. President Trump will return later today to the White House for an intelligence briefing. Welcome to Fox News Live on a busy news weekend.
So they're bringing in the bombers.
Washington. New airstrikes from the Israeli Air Force against missile storage and launch infrastructure in Iran overnight, as the IDF says it has killed the commander of the Quds Force, who is a key coordinator of weapons deliveries to Hamas. Fox
Fuck him, bro. That's a rip bozo. Got his ass.
News senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Palcott is live in Tel Aviv with more. Hello, Greg.
Hello, Mike. Yeah, we are into now day 9 of the war between Israel and Iran, and there are more raids on key Iranian targets as well as individuals. The Isfahan nuclear...
So they left the airport with half a tank of gas so they can carry the bomb.
Facility was hit for the second time by Israel. The IAEA confirms real damage was done to the centrifuge construction facility. And another assassination by Israel. Saeed Izzati, a Revolutionary Guard commander who played a key role in the deadly October 7 Hamas attack against Israel, was taken out.
I mean, at this point, if I was part of the Iran military, I'd just be like, guys, listen, I gotta go. Like, I gotta get out of here, man. Like, this is my last day, guys. Like, I would leave. Yeah. I would be like, all right, everybody, I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'd be like, all right, honey, pack the shit. Let's fucking just start driving away.
And the IDF claims to have shot down nearly all 40 Iranian drones headed towards Israel this morning. Tehran has had less success with these relatively slow-moving projectiles.
Yeah.
Now, here in Tel Aviv, after we watched overnight a barrage of some 5 Iranian missiles,
it's crazy they still
knocked
popping
down
off
by
like this.
Israeli defenses, it has been relatively quiet, knock wood. Evening usually sees more activity. And as you noted, Mike, Fox News, citing sources, is reporting that 6 B-2 stealth bombers have left their home base in Missouri, said to be headed to Guam, which is a bit closer and a bit of an easier run to Iran. Now, Mike, that aircraft...
I'm just going to fucking self-report. Okay. Yeah. Don't leak it? Uh-huh. Yeah, I had no idea where the fuck it is.
Is the only one that can deploy the much-discussed bunker-busting bombs.
It's okay. They don't speak English over there. They couldn't read the map.
Deeply dug and crucial Fordo nuclear facility. Back to you.
Greg Palcott starting us off live in Tel Aviv. Greg, many thanks. President Trump will head back to Washington later today for a briefing on Iran after announcing he would wait up to 2 weeks on a decision to strike the Middle Eastern country. Nate Foy is traveling with the president in Bedminster, New Jersey.
Oh, what did he say?
Hey, Mike, good afternoon. So, yeah, the pieces on the chessboard and the posturing ahead of a potential decision from President Donald Trump, which he promises is coming in the next 2 weeks, continues to develop.
I don't see why the fuck we're getting involved. Israel said they can do it. Just let them fucking do it. Yeah, I mean, like, of course we I think it's like if we it's better that we bomb the nuclear facility than them having the nuclear facility. But if Israel can do it and we don't have to do anything, that's a win-win situation. We don't do shit. They don't have shit.
Up with, according to that open source flight tracking data, those 6 B-2 bombers, and according to the data that we are seeing in the refueling pattern of those planes, it appears that they left without a full fuel tank, which could indicate that they are in fact carrying those bombs on board. But the White House has not confirmed this independently. We are working for that confirmation. But President Trump is at his Bedminster Club here today in New Jersey. He's going back to the White House later today where he will meet with his national security team. And he spoke yesterday about that 2-week timeline that he's promised.
What did he
Listen
say?
here.
Mr. President, what was the thought process behind 2 weeks?
Just made it up.
Just time to see whether or not people come to their senses.
Yeah.
I'm giving them a period of time. We're going to see what that period of time is, but I'm giving them a period of time. And I would say 2 weeks would be the maximum.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mike, Trump also pushed back on Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's comments that Israel is capable of destroying Iran's Fordo nuclear facility on its own.
So the extremists hate America, Israel, and Europe. How did Australia get left off? They're like us. I don't know. Like, what the fuck does Australia do? Nothing.
The president said Israel has a limited capacity. He also said his own national intelligence director was wrong when she testified before Congress in March, saying that Iran was not pursuing a nuclear weapon. Listen here.
I saw that.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
Now, Gabbard responded on X, writing in part, quote, "The dishonest media is intentionally taking my testimony out of context and spreading fake
I would have never expected
news as a way to manufacture division. America has intelligence that Iran is at the point that it can produce a nuclear weapon within weeks to months." Now, in that same testimony before Congress in March, Gabbard testified that Iran has an unprecedented amount of enriched uranium. In the White House's
Why the fuck is this even a conversation? Like, we don't ever have conversations about Zimbabwe building a nuclear fucking bomb. We never have conversations about a nuclear bomb being built by I don't know, Madagascar. It's pretty fucking obvious that they're trying to do that. Like, how is anybody even thinking about this for a second? Really? Like, it's crazy. It's obvious they're trying to do it.
To that as evidence that there's no daylight between her and the president in his view of Iran's capabilities in regards to her previous testimony. Trump is set to leave Bedminster for the White House later this afternoon. We'll send it back to you, Mike.
Nate Foy live in the Garden State with the president. Nate, thanks very much.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not even sure, right? But, like, I've got a pretty good feeling that, I mean, it's hard to say. But if they're already moving a lot of those bombers over there, it's a lot. It's to shut up the yapping retards saying we're doing something wrong. Maybe, I don't know. I see Iran's not building a nuclear weapon. Supreme Leader has not authorized nuclear weapons program, and he's suspended. The IC is closely monitoring to see if they reauthorize the nuclear program. Yeah, no, I obviously like it, but it's not about whether they have the program. It's about whether they can engage the program, right? I mean, obviously, like, if you have the tools to be able to do that and you can do it within a small period of time, I think that's really the issue more than anything, right? I mean, I would kind of guess big Russian push against attacking Iran going off too. Yeah, I mean, well, the reason why Russia and China don't want Iran to be attacked is because Iran is a compromising force against America. And if Iran has nuclear weapons, that's another ally that they have that removes America's hegemony, right? I mean, that's obviously the reason why. It's just simply a strategic win for them if they don't have it. So, I mean, it's so fucking common sense. I never heard Russia pushing this. No, they've said it multiple times. Russia has said multiple times they don't want to get the U.S. to get involved. And Russia even has nuclear scientists in Iran. But the thing is that also, apparently, those nuclear scientists, they already came to an agreement with the Israeli government that they wouldn't be hurt anyway. So it shouldn't even be an issue. So what has Iran done against America? They've funded multiple terrorist groups that have killed Americans, that have shut down trade routes, that have bombed and destabilized the entire region. It's probably cost us collectively billions of dollars. Like, the thing is, like, Iran not doing something directly doesn't matter whenever they're paying people to do it on their behalf. Like, that's the difference. Like, I feel like people can't understand this distinction, but it very much exists. Just because somebody has a proxy doing something on their behalf, they are still responsible for doing that. They're the ones paying for it. They're cutting the checks. Because some countries are allowed to commit genocide, others aren't allowed to defend themselves, of course. I mean, you can say whatever you want, but I just don't want Iran to have a nuclear bomb. Like, I mean, whatever your genocide, emotional argument, bullshit, what about this other thing? I don't care about any of that. I don't want to have a bunch of psychos that chant death to my country with nuclear weapons. Are you fucking retarded? Let me look at the other one.
Straight to our top story this morning. Israel says it's currently striking military infrastructure in Iran after killing an Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps commander who they say funded and armed Hamas ahead of the October 7th attacks in Israel.
Mike Tobin is live in Tel Aviv with the very latest details.
What a surprise.
Good morning, Griff. Good morning, gang. Israeli fighter jets are active right now in the southwestern portion of Iran. According to the IDF, they're striking targets. And this follows another round of Iranian missiles that flew at central Israel last night. Those missiles once again creating fireballs in the sky as they re-entered the atmosphere. Israeli missile interceptors in hot pursuit in the sky. The town of Holon, next to Tel Aviv, took a hit, resulting in a fire on the top of an apartment building. No reports of injuries. This is the second time Holon has been hit in the past 3 days. Israeli warplanes have been on the hunt in Iran. The IDF reports the assassination of key Iranian figures. One of them was struck in a car. Benham Shahriyahi is his name. The IDF says he was a commander of the force that transferred weapons.
They just blew him up in a car? Damn. And that didn't even fuck up any of the other cars either.
To Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthi rebels. The IDF also says they assassinated Saeed Izzadahi last night.
Two of them? God damn.
He is said to have been one of the architects of the October 7th massacre and a key person in the relationship between Iran.
I mean, I can't see how anybody thinks that Iran is coming out of this ahead when they constantly have their guys getting murked like this. Really? Like, yeah, I mean, it's happening over and over and over. Yeah, so Israel can be surgical? Yeah, clearly.
And Hamas. He was killed in a hideout apartment in the Iranian town of Qum. The destruction of Iran's missiles continues. The IDF estimates they have destroyed more than half of Iran's missile capability.
The goal was to make sure that they are in disarray, that they have a hard time.
They said 30% like 5 days ago or 4 days ago. So it seems like they're making good progress.
Out operations. Obviously, if you don't keep pushing all the time, they might change. They might regroup. They might rearrange. But we're pushing all the time. We're hunting down their commanders. We're hunting down their missile launchers, making sure they don't have a second to regroup.
See, this is the reason why I think they were trying to come to the negotiation table with Trump and trying to, we'll negotiate now. It's because they're going to try to leverage the possibility of them negotiating to try to get Trump to get Israel to stop attacking them so they can regroup. I think it's very tactical.
Rearrange their operations.
And Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, says the regime will not return to the negotiating table as long as Israeli strikes are going into Iran.
Yeah, exactly. Because they want to leverage that in order to hopefully have time to regroup.
Back to you.
Yep.
And no indication, Mike,
no
that's
surprise
there. Stop
Anybody could have expected
soon.
that.
It seems Israel is continuing to pretty much have a full court press, if you will.
Yeah, sure. It's pretty obvious.
Right. They have freedom of the skies over Iran, having decimated their air defenses. And again, updating what we talked about just at the top of my live shot here, Israeli warplanes are active as we speak over southwest Iran.
Go ahead.
No, please.
Mike, when we talk about Iran's air defenses, going into this operation, there was a little bit of ambiguity over what air assets Iran may have, if they had some fighter jets, even some old American ones.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Is there no air force for Iran at this point?
It doesn't seem they got many aircraft off the ground at all, if they had any. They had things like...
they're cooked, bro. Like, that's it. Yeah.
U.S. F-14s. They had purchased 79 of them before the Islamic Revolution. They wanted to get 80, but the revolution happened. And I remember about a decade ago speaking with an Israeli F-16I pilot. He said, please put one of those things in the air against me. The F-14s, as much as they're part of U.S. history, they're antiquated compared to the things that the Israeli Air Force has now.
They got better shit, yeah.
They peaked at Top Gun. My question about the American citizens there, and especially outside of Tel Aviv, my girlfriend's parents, for example, in Jerusalem, they got separated. The dad actually was on vacation or visiting the children elsewhere. And now the mom's going to get on a 16-hour bus ride to Egypt to get out. Talk to us about the tenor there with the Americans and whether indeed they are staying put or want to come back.
Well, you do have a lot of Israelis anyway who are very interested in being here. You have a lot of Israelis who are trying to get back into the country just to show solidarity.
Wait,
but
really?
you do have some of the American Jews who are here.
What the hell
they're
is wrong
nervous
with
about
them?
traveling through Arab nations, going out through
They trying to show up. They're like, oh, look at us. We're all, God damn.
Came in through Jordan. A lot of them are nervous about going out through Jordan. They're nervous about going down through the south of Israel, through the Sinai Peninsula, and through Egypt. But people have done it. They can make that trip. They've got options. You've also got some transportation that's being arranged through the U.S. Embassy here. So they've got options to get out, but it's a nervous thing for Jews who are visiting Israel.
I bet.
I'm Steve Doocy.
Yeah, bro, I would want to be fucking out of there so fast. Like, that would be scary. Even though there's not bombs going off everywhere, I would still be afraid, even in a little bit, man. They're American in name only. We should get rid of dual citizenship. I don't agree with that. I don't think that somebody who's a dual citizen should be able to run for government, but I think that somebody can be a dual citizen. I think that's ridiculous. It's my opinion, right? I mean, I know everybody's going to think about it differently, but that's what I think. So they're actually sending in the B-2 bombers, and they're getting them closer. I don't know whether this is going to happen or not. I really don't. But it seems like there's a very high probability that things are going to pop off. Much has been repetitive, same info. Some outdated, like the B-2 bombers, point of covering, the same old info. Well, I don't think this is really old info. I feel like this... Wait, what do you mean it's old info? This is 3 hours ago it happened. It's literally 3 hours ago. And by the way, if somebody goes and they say, oh, well, they said it was for testing. Well, what do you think they're going to say? Do you really think they're going to say, oh, yeah, we're sending them over there in case you want to blow up Iran? No, they're not going to say that. They're not going to fucking say that. Like, they're not going to go and be like, so the plan, basically... is we're going to send a ship over there, and then we're going to attack them from that direction. Just like when Bush invaded Iraq. Just because Iraq was invaded under a false premise doesn't mean that all future premises are immediately false. Like, do you understand how dumb that sounds? So because we had one war that was started by a bad premise, that means that we can no longer start another war ever. It's retard logic. You should look at each situation individually. Yeah, he's right there. Yeah, it's just, I don't even understand this at all.
These new attacks happening just ahead, of course, of a high-stakes meeting beginning in Switzerland. Iran's foreign minister sitting down with top European diplomats in Geneva after French President Emmanuel Macron said his country, Germany, and the UK are ready to make an offer to Iran for what he described as complete negotiations. Well, before the meeting, the Iranian minister leveled criticism at Israel. Take a listen.
Oh, wow.
We were supposed to meet with Americans on 15 June to craft...
This is Iranian. The Israeli strikes were a betrayal of diplomacy. Really.
A very promising agreement for peaceful resolution of the issues fabricated over our peaceful nuclear program. It was a betrayal of diplomacy and an unprecedented blow to the foundation of international law and UN system.
I can't believe people believe this shit.
Let me be clear.
Yeah.
If there is any use of costly systems and mechanisms we have created for the past 80 decades to preserve human rights.
It's the nuclear bombs of peace. But to be fair, he's talking about nuclear energy, right? The implication is that they're not building bombs. They're just using it for nuclear energy.
Rights and dignity. Now is the time to do it.
Well, with Donald Trump's announcement that he wants to leave the door open for diplomacy for as long as 2 weeks, I want to talk about this European push for negotiations or at least a dialogue with the French Foreign Ministry spokesperson, Christophe Lemoine, who is joining me this hour from Paris. It's good to have you, sir. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Foreign Minister Barrot briefed the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on the planned approach for today's meeting. What exactly is that approach, sir? Can you explain?
Well, there was a call yesterday between French Minister Barrot and Secretary of State Rubio on, considering the situation that it is now and presenting the.
I don't see how people can can't tell this kind of bullshit and they're going to believe what they say. I think the reason why they believe this kind of stuff is that there's a lot of people who have been conditioned into believing that everything that the United States or any Western power does is bad, and anything that a non-Western power does is good. So basically, you're beginning with a bias that just automatically assumes that everything that you hear from this group of people is wrong. So that's it. And also, like, haven't terrorists publicly executed people in France? I mean, maybe, right? I don't know. But I'm just saying in general, that's the reason why. And people have been conditioned into doing this, into thinking this. And I think also it's very weird because this type of, like, anti-Western thinking has been, like, completely normalized to a massive degree. I mean, in my opinion, a lot of the countries that are like this are, like, just super fucking oppressive. They're paying terrorist organizations that kill civilians, etc. Like, I just wish these people would just go live over there. Like, if you really think that it's so much better over there, then just go over there. They would never do that because they know that, like, deep down inside, they know they're lying. But at the same time, it's very annoying to hear. It's the exact same bourgeoisie, proletariat, Marxist, retard logic. Yeah, exactly. It's just, it shouldn't even be taken, what I'm saying about it is that it should not even be taken seriously to begin with. You shouldn't even look at it and approach this with any degree of good faith at all. It's just brainwashed retards.
Priorities of the French diplomacy, which is, obtaining a ceasefire and going back to the negotiations. And the presentation was, in a way, to present what was all about for today's meeting with the Iranians. And again, the approach is based on let's go back to negotiation, let's do it in Europeans with the Iranians, and let's see if there is a willingness on the Iranian part to restart negotiating.
Of course they want to negotiate, because negotiating gives them more time. I mean,
does it help when the German
obvious?
Chancellor says Israel is doing the world's dirty work?
He's right.
Well, there has been a common European approach on Iran for the last decades in terms of negotiation, and there have been an alignment between, the UK, Germany and France, and this alignment is still valid today. So this is what's happening in Geneva right now. Those three ministers, the E3 ministers, are talking to the Iranians, and again they are trying to re-engage them on the negotiation. Anything that happens on the military side must cease because there is no military solution.
Well, it hasn't ceased. Iran and Israel have been exchanging strikes overnight.
Why would they stop bombing them if they're winning? Like, why would they stop doing that? It doesn't even make sense. Yeah, why would they do it? Why would they? There's no reason for them to stop doing that. Yeah, why negotiate with terrorists? The thing is that, and this is the issue, is that people that think that this is possible are so naive. Unless you have, like, basically total control and autonomy over looking into it, these people are just going to lie to you. They're just going to lie to you. They're going to tell you something that's not true because that's what they do. Useful idiots? Yeah, they're just morons. Like, it's amazing to me that so many people can buy into such an obvious, transparent lie.
Iran has just
unbelievable.
Sent missiles into Israel. We were just speaking to our correspondent in Haifa, where the impact of one of those missiles is very, very clear and very deadly.
Yeah.
The French president, Emmanuel Macron, has said that the goal here is complete negotiations. Can you explain what he means by that? What exactly does Europe mean by complete negotiations, sir?
complete negotiations means that we offered a package that was proposed today to the Iranians in Geneva, which is meant to be presenting a global solution for the whole situation, which means one part on the nuclear program, one part on the ballistic program, one part on anything that Iran does in financing proxies in the region that is highly.
Why are you even playing with this even for a second? They're financing multiple groups that are going around killing civilians, bombing people, and disrupting international trade. These are clearly bad actors. I don't even know how can anybody not see that this is obviously a problem? And this is and by the way, this has nothing to do even with Israel. Like, if you really think this is all about Israel, it's nothing to do with them. You're funding terrorists, multiple groups of terrorists. And the biggest victims that these terrorists have are their own people. Their own people don't even like these guys. So it's not like, oh, well, they're trying to arm the resistance. No, when people resist against them from their own country, the terrorists kill them. So's America. I don't think we're funding Hezbollah. If we are, I don't even understand. So what's your logic? So if we're funding Hezbollah, okay, so if there's somebody in America that's funding Hezbollah, then in the government with our tax money, then I think we should put him in jail. So I have the same viewpoint. I do. I have the exact same viewpoint. Like, anybody doing this is bad. It doesn't matter whether they're an American, they're French, whether they're Iranian, whether they're Israeli. It doesn't make a difference.
Stabilizing the region, and one other part on other security matters, including, the hostages, and especially the French hostages that are still held in Iran. So,
and also, like, a lot of people make arguments like, oh, it's hypocritical because of X or Y thing. This isn't an argument of like who has the right viewpoint. This is a survival situation. Any hypocrisies or logical inconsistencies or anything like that's totally out the window. It's a survival situation, and you have to act accordingly to that. It doesn't matter what you did in the past. It doesn't matter about what's fair. It matters about how to make sure that you are ensuring that the people that you're representing are not going to be in harm's way. That is the only thing that matters. So purely emotional? It's the opposite of emotion.
This global package is meant to embrace the whole situation. This is a proposition, and we hope it's going to be a platform on which there could be further discussions with the Iranians, and in a broader format with the United States or other countries from the region.
I just wonder whether these complete negotiations, which extend beyond the nuclear file then, reflect the scope of the American talks with Iran that were scheduled, of course, in their sixth round to happen on Sunday and haven't materialized. Or is this Europe wresting concessions and a wider scope out of Iran at a time when Iran is clearly weakened on its nuclear, missile file, and indeed the regime itself?
Well,
yeah, they're totally fucked. The last thing that they should do right now is let up on them. Like, yeah, just keep going.
This proposition is to tackle the very core of the problem of the crisis that we are going through right now.
Do you expect that, like, you're going to negotiate with them and then they're just going to magically stop doing everything that they were doing for the last 30 years? It's such a naive perspective. I can't even imagine that people think it.
Now, which is first, the nuclear program, and B, the ballistic program, and C, all the proxies that they finance. So it's meant to be tackling this in a very pragmatic way. So this is a proposition. This is a start for negotiation. We hope that we are able to move on this and to progress and to reach an agreement. And I completely get that, operations are still on and there are still, strikes on Israel and strikes in Iran. But, each war ends with a negotiation, and we hope that this
somebody says, why is the French involved? Because last time I looked at the globe, I do know where France is. Well, I know kind of where France is. They're closer to Iran than we are. So if Iran does build a nuclear bomb, France is much more in direct danger of that than America is. And I'm glad that France is saying something about this, because it's like, why the fuck are we playing world police when this is an existential threat to everyone?
Negotiation is happening right now.
Emmanuel Macron talked about, quote, moving towards zero enrichment. Does that suggest that zero enrichment is no longer a red line, as stated by the US administration? Has Europe moved the goalposts there? Can I just try and understand a little about what the president meant?
Yes, absolutely. That's what Emmanuel Macron stated today, and he stated it very, very clearly. And it's a very it's a position that is very clear. In the framework that we're imagining of those negotiations, all this is taking place within the framework of the Non-Proliferation Treaty, and that treaty sets guidelines and sets obligation to the states that are parties to the treaty, which is the case of Iran. So the zero enrichment is something that we put on the table, and that's something we think will guarantee some stability, because there cannot be, a military...
I don't think that you're going to have any stability while that government is still in power. Like, that's my honest opinion. I feel like as soon as it's like whack-a-mole, right? As soon as you stop their enrichment program, they're going to fund some other bullshit that's going to cause problems somewhere else. But the issue with that is that you can't really make that go away. I think that that's something that kind of has to go away on its own, like just from like a political perspective. But you can stop them from making bombs. They won't accept 0% enrichment. Trump just went through that with them. Well, every single day that they lose missiles and they have more of their people killed, accepting terms that are not advantageous becomes more appealing, because eventually the people that are in the room making the decisions are going to say, I don't want to be the next guy that's on CNN tomorrow with an X over my face.
Nuclear program in Iran, that is not possible. So we have to set those kind of thresholds. We have to be clear about this, and I think that's what President Macron said today, and that's what he wanted to state today, a clear position on zero enrichment.
Yep.
Do you worry at this point in France that Iran may actually pull out of the NPT?
They already did. It's a cosmetic agreement. I love how these people think that these agreements mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. Like, they just sign it and then they do whatever the fuck they want. What is stupid? How can anybody think like this? So everyone's allowed to have nukes except Islamic countries? I don't want Iran to have a nuke. Period. Like, I don't know why this is so complicated for you to understand. And you shouldn't either.
We noticed that over the last 2 years, Iran has been escalating on its nuclear program. They've been going through thresholds.
Proliferation and escalation, these words are not synonymous, but they're quite close.
In terms of enrichment, in terms of production.
And so when you're enriching something and you're escalating something while you're also part of an agreement that's called non-proliferation, but, we're not proliferating, we're escalating. Guys, how does anybody believe this bullshit? It's amazing to me.
In terms of not complying with their obligation within the JCPOA and within the Non-Proliferation Treaty. And this, for us, was very concerning and very worrying. And this is why now we are engaging them into serious negotiation, which means that they will have to comply with obligations and they will have to comply with verifications. And that's something that is very important. There is a question about the transparency that they must have of their program. They haven't had it before, and now they have...
Somebody says, I don't want Israel to have nukes. Why is that so hard to understand for you? When have I ever said that I want Israel to have nukes? There's no response. You've been arguing about this. You've been creating these false dichotomies. You've been arguing about this. And you're just, and this is the mind of a person like this, right? This is the way that they think. The entire premise of every single point of their argumentation is built on something that's not even real. Everyone is allowed to have nukes except Islam. Who the fuck said this? I don't want Israel. Why don't you understand Israel? It's all based off of a lie. And you don't, and this person doesn't even explain themselves whenever they come, they get called out. That's the problem, that you only focus on Iran. I don't want Israel to have nukes either. We're in agreement. I don't think Israel or Iran should have nukes. Do you think Iran should have a nuclear weapon? This has nothing to do with Israel, has nothing to do with Saudi Arabia, nothing to do with Russia, just Iran. Do you think it's good for them to have it or not? This is a yes or no. None should have it, period. Okay, so then you agree. No, I want to hear you say it. Iran should not have a nuclear weapon, if that's what you believe. Yeah, just say it or not. I mean, and if we're not, well, we can move on. I agree that Iran should, but if Iran can't, then none should. What do you mean should? What is about this should for you? Like should, like this is, it's this childlike logic that's unbelievable to me. It's amazing that people can think like this. These are real adults that think like this.
To engage themselves in that way. So again, what he's proposing is a negotiation, but with a stance that is very clear, because we want to have a solid agreement at the end that would be fulfilled by everybody in the region.
They're brainwashed? I guess so.
The U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who your foreign minister has briefed, has reportedly just told your foreign minister that the U.S., and I quote Rubio here, is ready for direct contact with the Iranians at any time. Firstly, is that likely? Secondly, that sounds like the U.S. isn't putting much stock in these discussions that don't directly include them. So is this Europe playing a bridge between the two at this point? I'm just trying to understand what the point is.
Somebody says, I think he was making a point that no one, including the USA or any country on earth, should have nukes, but you hold this double standard on Iran? Of course it's a double standard. Duh. Obviously it's a double standard. What are you, retarded? No shit. What is this? You think this is Reddit? This isn't Reddit. This is survival. This is about nuclear weapons. It's about people being able to destroy an entire fucking city. It's not about, oh, it's a double standard. It's hypocritical. What the fuck is wrong with you?
The point, I think, is to be pragmatic. Again, we are, advocating some kind of diplomatic way out of that crisis, and anything, any effort, any initiative that will go into that direction will be, I think, welcomed by the Europeans. So we've kicked off something today in Geneva. This is a good start for discussion. We'll see how the Iranians are reacting. But of course, we're ready, to open the discussions to others, and of course the United States. But anything that will go in what we think is the right direction will have the support of France France and the support of the Europeans.
Do you agree that only mature countries are allowed to have nuclear weapons? No, I don't think it's good for anybody to have a nuclear weapon at all. It's better for... So the best thing is for nobody to have a nuclear weapon. The second best thing is for countries that you are aligned with to have a nuclear weapon. In any war situation, there is no positive benefit of you having a symmetrical advantage against an enemy. Every single military, and also, by the way, this is the case, this is what you would want, right? You want to have an asymmetrical advantage against your enemy.